Good morning. Good morning. Yeah, so today we'll be playing Our Life Now Forever for real this time. Since last time I was going to, and then I accidentally deleted my save file. But I got it caught up now. So we should be able to continue properly. As a recap though, my character here is Kia Connolly. And this is, I think it's cool that they now have, like, you can keep track of what your personality is, which I'm sure is like how your like character is perceived basically and how they'll respond to things. So yeah, you have a talkative, she's talkative, polite, rule follower, and casual. And I've done a couple of side things, so I know that this can also be shy. So that's how that could change. So it's like the way that they talk, like are they more shy or are they casual when they speak with people? This one is how much they do talk, because in a tutorial pop-up, the character that they had in the pictures had it say very quiet. So yeah, and then this at one of these, I think it was this one, in an earlier save says rowdy now for her, but now it's polite basically. So yeah, it just changes as you go through, so that's cool. Yeah, so then friends with Chew and best friends with Tamarack. And I realized I probably could have done this last time, but it doesn't go over everything, but it does have the main meter. But yeah, okay. Well, that's, I think, the most part. So far what they've updated is that there is a new moment, and then the step 2 preview has been complete, and then you have one available moment in step 2. So we won't get that far today, because yeah, but we'll see how far we can get. Oh yeah, and I love that these little stickers moved. How I use these is, this reminds me of Tamarack's bag, so I marked these to know who Kia hung out with more in this one. So like she hung out more with Tamarack in walks and more with Chiu and Wills. So notepad and backpack. Yep. Alright, so I will get started. And begin fancy fun. Yes, I need to make sure I always read and don't click too fast. Okay. For the most part, I kind of just flip her layout, but maybe I'll give her this one today. Well, I like that though. Yeah, I will do this again. I will just flip flop them. Hang on. Oh, it's got fancy fun. It almost makes me feel like I should do something different, but yeah, I don't know. I like her being asymmetrical. I guess I can see if this is called fancy fun. Maybe I'll give her this one, because this looks like it still could be like overalls, or maybe like the skirt has little straps. She's kind of an overall girly, but we'll do this one. Fancy fun. For the fancy. Tap, tap, tap. The raindrops kept coming down. It'd been drizzling the entire day. Mama had stayed late in the morning to drive you to school so you wouldn't have to ride through it. She told you then that by the time her work was finally over and she'd be able to come get you again, the rain should be cleared up. Until then, the clouds would stay, your mama would be gone, school would end, and the Lynns would be looking after you. Granny was always the first to volunteer to keep an eye on you. She loved being included in your life. And Tamarack's grandma had no job or club or classes as far as you knew anyway. Socializing with townspeople was her whole day. Mr. and Mrs. Lynn were busier people, normally. But that afternoon, Granny had some kind of important errand, and it included Tamarack too. Both of them were out of the neighborhood. Meanwhile, Mr. Bauman was away doing stuff a retired person wasn't supposed to be doing. That was how Mama had said it, though you were sure she was just quoting Granny's phrasing. Besides, even if Tamarack's grandfather didn't have his own meeting, you couldn't imagine him being a babysitter without his wife or granddaughter around to help. You'd have to be more of an elder sitter than him taking care of you. So that meant it was Chiyu's family who'd make sure you were safe and sound until your mama could come home. It didn't mean they weren't still as swamped as ever. Mr. Lin had client calls, Mrs. Lin had chores, and Chiyu had ballet class. Of course, so did you. Mama let you sign up for ballet a while ago. You took a different type of dance lesson at the same place, but it wasn't your practice day. That was an unknown thing to you. You'd never had a dance lesson at the dance hall. I think Kia feels like she would take a type of dance. I don't think she'd take ballet though. So we'll go with it took a different type of dance. Yep. You decided to go at Chiyu to his class. You stayed at Chiyu's house with his parents. It didn't matter to you though, since you wanted to stay alone at your house. She's gonna accompany Chiyu to his class. Yeah, it sounded fun. If that's what it took to hang out with your friend, you'd do it. There was nothing better to do. You're pretty curious about the lesson. You had to know how good Chiyu was at it. That was the least terrible option you had. Kia thinks it sounds fun. She's fun-loving, excitable, curious. So the curious one could have also worked. But, yeah. You stood in one corner of the massive open space. Like pretty much everywhere in Golden Grove, the dance hall felt old. Though not in a way that was worn down. The wooden floor had such a shine, it was almost as good as the real mirrors that covered a full wall. But it seemed like the type of room you'd find in a Victorian mansion with its golden chandelier and patterned ceiling. Little by little, kids around your age filed into the room before practice began. No matter how many came, it never got crowded. The high walls and long stretching boards kept the students as only a small part of this grand hall. Chiyu had stuck close by since you'd arrived. You could easily feel alone there if the person you knew was just on the other side of the room. He had a leotard on, and Mrs. Lin had put his hair into a bun before she left. Chiyu made sure to bring his jacket, but he wasn't allowed to wear it during class. It was hanging on a coat rack for later. You'd never seen Chiyu look less like Chiyu, though his expression was familiar. Chiyu kept grinning at you, bouncing up and down on the balls of his feet. There was a lot he wanted to say, except he couldn't. He didn't have time. The lesson would begin any second. And it was right then that the teacher announced everyone should go to the bar. Dozens of slipper-clad feet thumped against the wood. It sounded chaotic from the number of people and the way each footstep echoed in the closed-off space. But there was a method to the madness. Before your eyes, the frantic movement sorted itself. The dancers in neat tutus and leggings had found their assigned place on this secluded stage. Chiyu's spot was near the front of the line, or in, depending on how you saw it. You were the only kid left at the back. Kia, you can sit on the floor there and watch the class, or you could join our practice for today. It'd be fun, but you'd need to take it as seriously as everyone else. No matter what you do, they can't have a distraction. Thank you, teacher. I'll practice too. Really? Yeah, I want to dance. Oh, well, I can try. Sure. No thanks. No way, I'm not going to get a dance. I just want to watch. You shrugged and went to the front too. You smiled at the teacher and happily skipped over to join in. You silently shuffled towards the others. You quietly sat cross-legged on the floor. You plopped down on your butt. You shook your head before getting comfortable on the ground. Yeah, Kia's excited. She didn't expect to be offered to dance, so yeah, really? Yeah, I want to dance because Kia's she's, yeah, she wants to join in on everything. And that's fine, but first, please switch your shoes for a pair of class slippers. There was a wicker basket near the coat rack with spare ballet shoes. While you found a pair that fit and put them on, an unexpected voice rang out. Can I stand near Kia? She's my guest, and I can help show her how it's done. Certainly. Kia, go to the end of the line and Chiyu will join you. So his normal spot was the front after all. He left the front of the class to stand by you again. Chiyu glanced at your readied hands and then whispered a tip. It's easier if you use your right hand. Everything starts on the right. That's the side you turn to, too. Chiyu snuck you a low thumbs up before setting his hand on the bar. Lessons began with what teacher called the ABCs of ballet. For something that was treated as the simplest, most baby-safe part of ballet, they used such fancy words for the moves. Pliés, élevés, battement tendu, rond de jambe. I wish I remembered what these words were. I was in ballet for a very short period of time when I was younger. I was like, I should know all of these words, probably. You focused on a specific action at a time, repeating it before moving on to something else. When the position needed only one foot, you started with one side and did it all again on the other. It was relaxing in a way. You did it without much effort. So boring. You could do it in your sleep. You could follow along. You weren't amazing or terrible. For your first time, you did decent. You had no idea what you were doing. You paid close attention and performed excellently. You tried your best and still struggled. It was so hard you wanted to give up. Some parts weren't bad. Others seemed impossible. None of it made sense. How were they supposed to do that? You barely pretended to be following along. You were a natural at this. You used to do ballet where you lived, so you had some skill. Okay, so Kia, she's definitely going to be trying her best. I don't think she's gonna be super great though. Maybe some parts weren't bad, others seemed impossible. I feel like, weren't amazing or terrible. Hang on. Okay, we're gonna go some parts weren't bad, others seemed impossible. I think she's doing her best in that there's some stuff that she probably can follow along with, especially if she was an 8 dance, but you know, ballet's ballet. Your varying abilities were a good comparison for this whole set of people. The group wasn't at equal skill levels. Some needed to keep 2 hands on the bar, some only held on with one. How far they could bend, how high they could get on their toes, how much their knees shook, it varied with every person. They had a long way to go if they wanted their overall performance to be uniform. Practice continued step by step, and the ballet instructor hardly needed a giant mirror to see a reflection of their poise. Chiyu was right there. He flowed into each move with a confident grace as the teacher acted it out for the sake of younger and less experienced students. You couldn't call yourself a ballet expert. You hardly knew what proper ballet was supposed to look like, but you were sure Chiyu had some of the best balance there. His smile had never gone away, though Though it became as delicate as his motions, Chiyu was completely focused. At some point, the teacher stopped giving orders, and kids let go of the bar. A hushed excitement overtook the room. Something else was happening. Stay calm, students, but yes, it's time to practice for our recital. For the sake of the guest, the teacher took a bit of lesson time to explain how that winter the class would be performing the Nutcracker Ballet. You were still allowed to follow along as much as you wanted, or were able to, but the students wouldn't be going through an identical set of steps anymore. Each kid had their own part to play. As an example, it was pointed out that the person you'd come to ballet with had the role of the Nutcracker Prince. Chiyu was the star of the show? Well, that didn't surprise you. Everybody resumed their positions from where events had been left off in the last class. It was when the noble Nutcracker Prince and evil Mouse King would clash over Clara, the leading lady. Chiyu and a boy you didn't know got to take prop swords out of a supply box. They strutted towards the center of the floor. What's a nice wooden sword? I think it's wooden. It's got that little wood mark right there. I don't know what else it would be. Before the two of you could well on each other with wood sticks, it says it right there. There was a refresher. The instructor became Prince, King, and Lady, having the students in each role follow along with her guidance. The three young dancers showed off their form and how was the strongest of the class. Nobody could question why they stood out from the crowd. Then it was time to put the routine together as a single piece. It was time for the leads to truly perform. And that's when the problems showed themselves. The events got off on an alright start, sure, but the longer the show drew on, the shakier Chiyu's portrayal of a hero became. He forgot where to stand, did moves out of order, and totally stalled because he didn't know what came next. Everything that could have been a problem was a problem. Each time Chiyu hit a block, he glanced towards his teacher with a wondering look. He wanted a hint or maybe permission to stop this disaster. What he got was a whispered encouragement to simply keep going. No matter what happened, they'd finish the scene. You gave Chiyu a grin. It was going to be okay. You gritted your teeth through it. You crossed your fingers and held your breath. From the sidelines, you tried giving your own clues and directions to help Chiyu get by. You attempted to cheer Chiyu up by clapping for his endeavors. You had to cover your eyes. You couldn't keep silent and expressed how unfair the teacher was being. The teacher was right. Chiyu didn't have to quit if he made a mistake. You yawned, waiting for this to be done. You were grateful you weren't in that class. Yeah, I think Kia would want to do this, but I'm not sure she remembers all the steps herself. I don't know if she'd be able to help. Kia'd be like, and then you do the thing. So she'll just give a grin. And by being okay, it meant things would be fine even if he kept tripping up, which he did a lot. She did smile at your gesture, though. The performance crawled on until the Nutcracker's victory against his adversary stiltedly came to be. And scene. You did it. Everyone, great work completing the entire set. But Chiyu, remember what I said about learning the steps? I won't be there to direct during the real show, and there won't be the option to pause and try again either. Hey, you learn stuff by practicing, and that's what I'm doing right this second. What else can I do? Get ballet steps magically beamed into my brain? The dance instructor was good at keeping students focused and orderly, but that broke their concentration. Laughter filled the hall. True, that is what we're here for, but the recital is a couple months away, so keep working on it. Yes, teacher, I'm working on it. Chiu said simply with a shrug of his fake sword. Recital practice took up most of the remaining class time, though there was a brief cool-down session right at the end. After that, bows and curtsies were given to the teacher, while the pupils were praised for their bright and beautiful performances. You got an acknowledgement, too. The teacher appreciated your efforts and hoped you enjoyed the lesson. You had enjoyed it. You were going to ask if you could do ballet, too. You had enjoyed it. There were parts you didn't enjoy, but you decided you wanted to do ballet yourself. There were parts you didn't enjoy, but you were glad you'd been there. It was pretty funny when Chiu messed stuff up. You were never doing that again. You didn't really like it, but Chiu was there and you did like him. You didn't really like it, but Chiu did ballet, so you'd ask to do it too. Ballet wasn't bad. You wanted to do another ballet class. I don't think she's going to join ballet, but let's see, there are parts you didn't enjoy, but you were glad you were there. You had enjoyed it. Yeah, she had enjoyed it. As the rest of the class left, Chiu grabbed his jacket off the rack and threw it over his black leotard. He didn't put it on to go outside. He went as little time as possible without wearing that, no matter what. Instead, Chiu came over to where you were waiting for Mom to pick you up. You did so good. It's crazy 2 people in our neighborhood like ballet. If you joined for real, maybe you could be in a show next time too. Putting on a phony, humble attitude, Chiu admitted some new details on his ballet career. It might be hard to believe, but this is going to be my first real recital ever. The dances I did when I was probably 5 or something don't count. I've never gone on a stage before. This is my debut, and it's dancing as the main thing. I'm the Nutcracker in the Nutcracker. The whole thing is named after me. There was no attempt to downplay the achievement then. Chiu boasted plainly. Congratulations, Chiu. Good for you. No, it's easy to believe you never had a real role, you teased. Are you sure that's a good idea? You're the perfect person to do it. You couldn't even do the scene right. Will you be okay? I know you are, you snapped. Oh, wow. I would have been a better Nutcracker than you. The teacher should have picked someone else. How come you never talked about this before? I have no idea why this is the first time you're bragging about it. You fumed silently listening to that. You made a squished face at the idea of Chiu having to do the entire show. You patted Chiu on the shoulder to congratulate him. You could only offer a supportive smile. You nodded along, sharing in Chiu's excitement. Kia. Whenever I see an exclamation point, I immediately maybe I should click on that. Because I feel like she's shouting a lot, just in high energy, I'm like good fun. But I think that's something she might say. Yeah, we look up for first of the day. Yeah. Pretending to be nonchalant again, Chiu turned his face away from you and popped up on his toes. I wasn't sure if I even wanted to do it, but they begged me to. Chiu pressed his hands, clutched into fists to his chest, expressing the apparent desperation of other people to have him be the Nutcracker. You're the best in the class, they said. After such a dramatic declaration, he moved an arm to shyly rub the back of his head instead. Well, I'm the best boy in the class. That's what they said. Chiu's words kept coming, though in an uncharacteristically mumbly way. And there's not a lot of boys in the class, and a lot of them don't take it really seriously. I didn't have to audition and win to be the prince. The teacher just gave it to me. I'm not good at doing the long dance routines. Somebody like Baxter would have gotten the role for sure if he was in this class. But Baxter doesn't do ballet, and he's in a higher age group anyway. So if it wasn't me, who else could do it? Chiyu hugged his jacket closer, seeming small in the accessories that normally fit him perfectly. When Chiyu was being his ballet self, it didn't hang the same way. A role had been placed on him, and Chiyu cared about getting the performance right, whether the steps made sense to him or not. That let you see things in Chiyu you never really saw: stress, uncertainty, discomfort. You didn't get the role only because there was nobody else, and you're not just the best boy in class, you're the best person in the class. Thanks, Kia. But forget this. I'm a million times better than I was when I first started. Listen, we'd be doing the bar, and everybody would stick out their right leg for something, except me. I'd have my left hanging out there. Then the whole class would be twirling around at the same time in the same direction, besides me, left again. Chiyu himself was the joke that got Chiyu laughing. He still wanted you to join in with it, the same way it happened with the other kids during recital practice. And that's why I warned you about it. I know, I lived that. I don't do it anymore though, most of the time. And that means I can keep getting better if I keep trying. When the recital happens, it's gonna be perfect. Chiyu declared that as truth and immediately changed the subject, as if he might spook reality into going the wrong way if the world had more time to react to those words. My mom isn't coming right now. I'm gonna stay at the dance hall until like dinner so I can hang out with Baxter. He's got to do his own private ballroom practice with a personal tutor today. Rich kids, right? But that means you and me get the whole dance floor to ourselves until whenever your mom gets here. I'll help you practice. I want to try doing the show routine. Let's play with those swords. Then I want to dance. We can both do it. Well, I'm going to dance by myself. You can do whatever you want. Would you dance with me? Do you want... Okay, so this is... I know, I gotta read through all of them. Hang on. Do you want to dance with me? Cool, what do you want to do, Chiyu? What are we supposed to do? I'll pretend to be the audience, and you can practice the show. You nodded along, glad to have plenty of room to dance. You began to sway, showing Chiyu that you thought it would be fun to dance. You held out a hand, offering Chiyu a dance. You pointed at the box, wanting the swords. You sat on the ground and gestured for Chiyu to keep practicing. You'd be his audience. You shrugged, not caring. You were completely at a loss at how to use the freedom. You tilted your head curiously. And what did Chiyu want to do now? Kia's gonna help him practice. Chiyu quirked a grin and his eyebrows perked. You want to be Clara? Yes, I gotta be Clara. No, I want to be the Mouse King. Yeah, I'll be Clara. Not that I was thinking I'd be the Mouse King. Is that okay for me to be Clara? Actually, could I be the Mouse King if it's okay? You held up claws to show you were the vile Mouse King instead. You pretended to swoon to show you were the dainty Clara. Yeah, Kia wants to be the Mouse King. She's picking up the sword. But you're not a boy. That was more than a little surprise. There was more than a little surprise in his reaction. You might as well have said you'd take his role as the Nutcracker. For a second, he just looked at your face and thought. You held his gaze, and then Chiyu stuck his hands on his hip, leaning forward. All right, let's do it. This time, the both of you got swords out of the supply basket before returning to the dead center of the shining wood floor. Prince and King faced each other down for the first time and for the first and final battle. You're going down, rat, mouse, whatever. You have no chance of defeating me, Nutcracker. You're not supposed to talk to you teased. Clara will be mine. No, you, blockhead. Do your best, Chiyu, you whispered encouragingly. This is gonna be fun. You winked with a grin. You scoffed in his foolish face. You stuck out your tongue. You couldn't help smiling at the drama of it all. You did your best evil cackle. You refused to dignify the simpleton with a response. You were the great Mouse King. You have no chance of defeating me. But also the evil cackle is very fun. Yeah, she'll do the evil laugh. His eyes had a dazzling sparkle. Chiyu pretended to be a nutcracker who was secretly a prince. Chiyu, pretending to be a nutcracker who was secretly a prince, flapped his jacket in a grand motion. It was an ideal substitute for a royal cape. Then he swung his plastic weapon forward, aiming it straight for your sword. It was just how it went in the show. Dancers weren't supposed to actually smack each other's arms or faces. You followed along the steps of the Mouse King as best as you knew them. You let the strike hit its mark. Chiyu could act. You'd just be there to get him through it. You ran away from the attack. She's going to try. She's gonna try. The strike landed true and with enough strength to send a vibration from your sword's tip to the hilt and into your hand. You and your adversary stepped back, putting distance between each other once more and readying yourself for the next move. The battle was on. Between quips and insults, you performed the dastardly actions of the Mouse King as Chiyu went all out in his own role. Like before, the scene continued without stopping. The two of you had committed to the fight. Chiyu clashed against your sword and his mistakes that threatened to defeat him. Even if he wasn't polished or perfect, you couldn't believe that was your true foe, the Nutcracker Prince. You could believe, oh my gosh, I can read. You could believe that was your true foe, the Nutcracker Prince. It was a rivalry one could take pride in. Your feet kept sliding from the frantic movement, and so did Chiyu's. More than once, the adventure almost came to an early end by somebody nearly careening to the ground. This was supposed to be the Nutcracker Ballet, not the on-ice version. And then, like some bad kind of magic, the world of cursed nutcrackers and mouse kings vanished before your eyes. Mama was there. It was time to go. Had it seriously stopped raining already? Surprisingly, Chiyu squeaked, embarrassed to be caught doing the show he had a role in. Guess we couldn't do this forever. His first instinct was to tuck the sword behind his back, out of sight, but as if that wasn't a good enough solution to not be caught in a weapon, he dropped it completely. From what Mama could gather of the interrupted scene, it was something worth smiling about. Chiyu called across the room to her. "Hi, Miss Connolly." And more quietly to you, he said, "Bye, Kia. It was a great practice. I've got to be better now. Bye, Chiyu." Content, you went with your mama. In the seconds it took for you to cross the floor, Mama had already managed to find and get into a conversation with the ballet teacher. She had thanked the ballerina for letting you have a free lesson, and the instructor thanked Mama for allowing you to spend an afternoon in her dance hall. It was pretty much Thanksgiving at that point. This was the season for it anyway. The celebration of appreciation didn't last all day, though, and she turned to you. "Goodbye. You can visit again if you'd like." Outside was about as cold as it had been ever since you'd moved there, which was a lot, but it was a whole lot more damp now. Rain might not have been falling directly on your head, and you didn't have to have an umbrella to get home, but it was still all around. You could feel it, you could smell it, and a powerful earthy scent. Puddles covered the sidewalk, Dodging them completely was impossible. You knew, you'd tried. But the both of you made it to the car, mostly dry. Your mama started the short drive to the neighborhood. When you did finally return home after a long day, Mama turned on the lights and upped the heater. The old building was drafty, with 1,000 hidden cracks that could let the cold creep in. You had to baby the furnace, according to Mama. Then you filled Mama in on everything that happened during the ballet class. Mama had her own additions to the conversation. She chatted about her work. You were happy to let her talk and reacted to the different parts of her story. In the middle of Mama telling a highly redacted story about her HR endeavors, her phone buzzed. Your Mama never had a ringer on. Vibration only was her rule for life. She got the device out, and reading the caller ID, the corners of her mouth pulled up. Well, look at that. It's Mrs. Bauman. Granny? Did that mean the errand was over? Had Tamarack come back? Anticipation filled your stomach with fuzzies. Mama motioned to bring the phone to her ear before thinking better of it. She decided that, for this call, you could be included. She answered by turning on speaker. Hello, Dorothea. Kia's right here with me. How are you? Both of you braced your ears for a blaring old lady exclamation to go off into your living room any second. It never came. Instead, there was just a powerful, fake old lady squeal. It's me, Omi. I'm glad somebody asked how I am for a change. I go around checking to see how everyone else is all the time, but when does somebody take care of me? Never. The definitely not Mrs. Bauman person on the other end of the line couldn't keep up that act for a second longer. She giggled gleefully. It was definitely Tamarack. Mama had to press a few fingers to her lips to stop from joining in on the laughter. The joke was too much at Mrs. Bauman's expense for it to be kosher. Hi, Tamarack. Tamarack, hi. Hi, Mrs. Bauman. Well, Omi, this is Kia's mama speaking. Tamarack, how did you get that phone? Your granny doesn't say it's me, Omi. Tamarack, why are you calling my mama? What do you want, Tamarack? You sighed. Granny talks just like that. You didn't have a problem snickering along with Tamarack. You made sure not to laugh at it either. You didn't know why. It was funny. You grimaced. If Tamarack was calling about something, it was going to be a hassle. You bounced about. This had to be something good. You stared at the phone in confusion. What? Why? How? Kia is either... She's definitely going to react to it. But part of me wants to do to her playing along and pretending to be her mom. Yeah, she might do that. Yeah, we'll say she did that. I know that voice. You're not Kia's mama. You're Kia. And I'm not Omi. I'm Tamarack. The game was up. Tamarack breathed noisily through the phone speaker. It was an attempt to speak more calmly for the next part. I'm having a tea party right now. You're invited. The attempt hadn't worked. There's going to be tea and snacks and our best china. I don't know why plates and stuff have the same name as a country, but that's what Omi calls them. It was fine if she didn't know why it was called China in your eyes. The invitation to a tea party was more important. You glanced from the phone to Mama, trying to work out her thoughts on the matter. You concluded they were positive. She moved her free hand over her chest and raised her left brow. Fine china, huh? That sounds wonderful. Quick question. Is there a dress code for this proper occasion? Oh. Tamarack gasped at that thought. One more piece of the puzzle had snapped into place. The picture of an ideal tea party was coming together in the world behind her ruby eyes. Yeah, I can get my special German dress. Kia, you can wear something nice too if you want. With the goal so close, Tamarack couldn't wait for you or anyone else to comment on the last-minute addition. She barreled to the final matter of planning. Is Chiyu home? He should come too. He's not there. Chiyu stayed at the dance hall. Oh, then the whole party would be me and you. It's gonna be great. A second noise bomb rattled your brain. Wow, the last time Tamarack sounded that excited was when she got to see the special place. And that was a fantastical bridge in the middle of the woods and a secret finally being revealed. Two things Tamarack was crazy about. This party had to be a pretty big deal. Mama could sense that too. Her thrill was so unmistakable, Chiyu might have been getting an itch that he was going to miss out on something all the way across town. But despite Tamarack's energy pulsing into the whole world, and the feeling was for you only, your mama discreetly placed your side of the call on mute. So, will you RSVP? I can break the bad news if you'd rather not, but I don't have a problem with you going over. She hovered over her phone screen at your eye level in case you wanted to talk to Tamarack directly. The choice was fully your own. You tapped the sound back on. You could tell Tamarack what you thought. You gave Mama a thumbs up. You'd go to the party. You grasped Mama's wrist, hopefully. Please tell Tamarack you'd be there. You bit your lip in hesitation, but ultimately gave an okay. You hung your head apologetically. You couldn't do anything. You thought inside and nodded. Why not? You shook your head definitively. You weren't going to talk, and you weren't going to go. You pretended to gag. That was the only answer you'd give. She's going to tell Tamarack herself. Tamarack, I want to go. Thanks for asking. Yeah, thank you for inviting me. I'd love to come to your party. Yes, I'm going to be there. Fine, I'll go, alright? Sure. You'd better not have a party without me. Something can't even be called a party if I don't go. I guess I can come. I don't have anything else left to do. I'm gonna do it, but only because it'll have snacks. I'm coming. This better be good, Tamarack. Why, thank you for your kind invitation. I will gladly attend, you said in a puffed up voice. Sorry, Tamarack. I'm gonna stay here. Well, I can't come. Sorry. No, thanks. No, why am I doing that? Maybe some other day. Kia is... It's tempting to choose they're trying to play the voice, but I think she's too excited. So I think she's just gonna... Yes, I'm gonna be there. I forgot to put my phone on Do Not Disturb. Hang on a second. Really? She cheered. We're having a tea party. Thank you. Guess what? Now this is a best friends only party. That was right. Okay. For the first time this whole phone call, Tamarack wrangled her enthusiasm under control. It was time to make the event of her dreams into a reality. You could step inside. Kia, you can come through the back door. You don't have to knock. It's not locked. Omi and Oppa don't need to let you in. Also, bring honey and milk if you have any. Oh, her Omi and Oppa must have run out of milk and honey. Your mama, who was a super smart lady, seemed to think it was unusual. It really didn't seem like a big deal to you, though. Before your mama could say anything about it, bye! Everything went quiet. Tamarack hung up. This is gonna be good. This is so amazing. This is so weird. This is worrying. This was absolutely nerve-wracking. This intrigued you. This would be a pain. This was fine. This was a magical day. This was already something you regretted. This was so amazing. Though it happened and ended so fast, it didn't feel like a real thing. It was a good thing you had another witness to the invitation. Today has taken a turn, Do you want to change into something a little fancier? You did wanna, you didn't wanna. You looked at her like she was nuts. Of course you'd have to dress up. You looked at her like she was crazy. You'd never dress up. You felt so embarrassed, but you were gonna do it. You didn't want to, but you're actually too... You did want to, but you were actually too shy to do it. You did not want to do something like that. You thought it was annoying, but you couldn't go to a party in normal clothes. You wouldn't do something so bothersome. You didn't think it was that important, though you'd do it anyway. You figured it didn't matter, and would wear what you already had on. Kia's like, of course we gotta dress up. Go on then, you have a party to attend. Not wasting another minute, you went upstairs and put into your bedroom, heart pounding the whole way. You used both hands to shove aside the hefty fall clothes hanging in your closet to get to the good stuff. Since Tamarack was wearing her German dress, you wanted to wear something with cultural heritage too. You just dress up in pretty clothes. Okay, my hesitation comes from Kia in my story is adopted and one of her moms is also German, but I haven't fully done all the research that I need to do, so I don't know if I should just join in or not. It's actually the mom that I have her here with. Well, let me just flip a coin. I'll flip a coin to decide. Let me see. Top option, bottom option. Left, right. Okay. The coin said that we'll just dress up in pretty clothes. And there it was. Oh. Well, I guess I kind of already put her in something nice, but let's change it up a bit more then. See what the other colors are. Okay. We can do that. And well, okay, let's take a look at the... I think if we put her hair down a little bit, there's one that's down, I believe. Let's see, I think that one. It's dress up time. Yeah, okay, we'll do that. But then her earrings, that's not right. Earrings. We'll do the flowers. Yeah, she'll wear matching earrings for this one. Yeah, that's cute. I think that's cute. Yeah, alright, there we go. Properly dressed for the occasion, you made your grand reappearance in the extra pretty clothes. Mama grinned and her eyes sparkled more than any opal stone. Really, it made those jewels seem like nothing more than plain old rocks. It was one of those rare times when you actually remembered she was a mama who was seeing her daughter when she was looking at you. Usually, Mama's glances didn't make you feel like a child. But she was proud of the person she was raising, and you were glad somebody like that got to be your parent. It's lucky the rain stopped. She mumbled that appreciation under her breath. Mama wouldn't want anything to rain on your parade, or to mess up the nice outfit you had on. Well, we'd better make a pit stop at the land of milk and honey, the kitchen. Mama gave a polite chuckle at her own statement. It wasn't as overpoweringly funny as that granny impression. However, this was perfectly appropriate to find amusing. Land of Milk and Honey was a book. Your mama made a punny joke. Yeah, all right, you groaned. Of course, there's got to be milk and honey for a tea party. Wait, do you even have anything she'd like? What if she uses different types of milk and honey? But, what if Tamarack hates what we have? What? I'm not bringing anything. I'm the guest. I don't know. Is it really a good idea? Right, Tamarack is going to be so happy. I don't wanna. You folded your arms with a humph. You weren't giving her squat. You nodded, already glancing toward the kitchen. You gave a thumbs up. That party couldn't happen without it. You shook your head. That wasn't your job. You tugged at your sleeve. What if you brought the wrong thing? Yeah. Of course. Can't have a party without them. That's good of you. It's polite to bring a gift to events of such import, even if it is last minute. I'll grab the honey. Some of these old cupboards are so high, even adults who aren't as tall as me would need a step stool to reach. You get the milk. Like usual, Mama made a plan that got things done in a way that used both of your skills. Her talent was being super tall, and yours was having hands that could open the fridge. The two of you went together before splitting off to different parts of the kitchen. You hefted open the door of the fridge that kept all the coldness inside. Hang on. I hear the sounds, but they're so quiet. I want to turn them up. Sometimes there's sound effects. I'm just going to max it out. The music's probably fine. At least I think the music's fine right now. Have you seen the updated interface? I know, I like it. Anyway, let's return to the game. You have to... Wait, let me see if that sounds better. Yeah, you can hear them more now. You hefted open the door of the fridge that kept all the coldness inside and searched around with your eyes for where the milk was hiding. Your family liked to use... cow's milk, lactose-free cow's milk, soy milk, coconut milk, rice milk, almond milk, oat milk. Yeah, we'll just use rice milk because we use rice milk in my house. If this is Miles, I definitely know to use rice milk. But I don't know, I haven't thought about it for Kia, so I'll just go with rice milk because it makes my life easier. I can't have soy milk because I'm allergic to soy. I don't know why I thought that was funny. I don't know, you can choose multiple. Oh, we're just gonna stick with just the rice milk. So rice milk is what you'd bring to the party. And there it was, right next to the eggs. Mama liked to get the brown colored eggs. And in front of a pot of leftover spaghetti sauce that was probably gonna be dinner for that night. But you had got a hold of your target. The milk left in the carton sloshed around. Hopefully this would be okay. At least it was some milk instead of none. And back in the living room, Mama handed you the supply she picked up from the top shelf. A sticky squeeze bottle of honey, locally sourced in Oregon. The honey had gotten kind of crystally at the bottom, but it did say it was made from real wildflowers. Wildflowers, perfect for a girl like Tamarack. It was time to go as carefully as possible. You did not want to spill anything all over your special clothes while walking the milk and honey there. Enjoy yourself, Kia. Just give me a call if you'd like to, if you'll be there past dinner. She said it with a wave as you left your home. Mama wouldn't want you to miss having another serving of her garlic basil tomato sauce after all. Nothing happened in the 2 minutes it took to go from your house to the back of Tamarack's, but you did have some close calls with so many puddles around. Standing on the uneven step of Tamarack's back door, you balanced the bottle of honey and carton of milk in one arm so you could take hold of the knob. Casually, you gave the thing a turn. The door opened right up. You peered down the looming hall. It was empty of people anyway. Furniture still choked the pathway. Hello? Nothing. Shutting the door behind you, you wandered towards the opposite end of the space. It was only Tamarack's house, but everything suddenly seemed off. This was your first time you'd navigated the cluttered space by yourself. With the way you'd entered all on your own too, you couldn't help feeling like you were a burglar. Chiyu would have had plenty to say about that if he was there. In your highly attentive state, a glint caught your eyes. You twisted your head that way. The candy bowl. It was still filled to the brim with some candies from when you moved in. The treats tempted you, faintly glittering like a chest of long-lost treasure in the amber light of the Bauman house. But in that instant, a different one of your senses got set off. You heard a small creak. It came from above. Your head snapped up. Tamarack was at the top of the stairs, though only her face peeked out from behind the edge of the banister. Come up here, to my room. A beckoning was all you got before the girl vanished out of sight like a headless ghost. Or, no, the opposite. Tamarack was acting as if she was a ghost who was only a floating head. Of course, that wasn't a monster. She was your friend, and you weren't going to ignore her invitation. You climbed the oddly blue steps, feeling anticipation build as you got closer to the top. If this house was a museum or antique store for real, instead of just looking like one, the second floor had to be the employees only area. Good thing you were an invited guest. Tamarack continued to quietly guide you on. Instead of a magic flying head, it was a mysterious levitating arm. She wiggled it up and down in an open doorway. That had to be her room. You went to meet up with her for real, and oh. Wow, that's her room. So cute. It's really pretty. You rubbed your eyes to double check they were still seeing things the way they were supposed to. Were you in a kid's real life bedroom or a dollhouse? Somebody shrank you to the size of a thumb and placed you in a playset when you weren't looking. It had to be. Human people didn't actually live in places like this, right? Each of the many pieces of vintage furniture and decorations had delicate lace or a flowy pattern or both. That bed was huge, bigger than not just yours, but your mama's too. And all of it was highlighted by the weighty chandelier hanging from the ceiling. Fifth graders were allowed to have a chandelier in their room? Hi. Thanks for letting me come over. You've got such a fancy place. Cool room. I think this fits you. I love your room so much. Your room is the ugliest thing in the world. Wow. Can we do the party someplace else? How come you have a chandelier? I want to be able to live in such a prissy place. This was a good room for Tamarack. You were glad to be there. It really didn't matter. Someone else's room could be whatever they wanted. This was way too cutesy for your taste. You were so jealous. Tamarack's room was fancier than yours. It was everything you dreamed of and thought It was everything you dreamed of and thought could never be. What a weird place. You couldn't imagine having to sleep there. How neat. You liked your room much better. You liked your room much more. Simpler was better. She's either gonna say that she loves her room or ask about the chandelier, Kia might be wondering about the chandelier, but she's also like, this is a really great room. I think she likes the room. Yeah, I love your room so much. Yeah, it's beautiful. She called from one off. Oh my gosh, I can read. She called from off in one corner. Tamarack herself was halfway into a big pink toy box, busy doing something. It was much more than a head or arm, but still definitely not the whole Tamarack. You could only stand there, waiting and watching. Who created this wonderland? You thought, despite already knowing the answer. Granny put her whole heart into the decorating. It seemed to be designed specifically to be the setting of a whimsical tea party. Maybe you should give her the wildflower honey. After tossing aside some teddy bears and toy jewelry, Tamarack raised a floral patterned scarf, into the air. This can be a napkin. It's kind of like a handkerchief. It was the extra thin type of scarf. One that look nice while you feel horribly cold if you wore it out in this weather, but that still make for an extravagant napkin. You'd never doubt Tamarack's commitment to fanciness again. With her prize in hand, Tamarack skipped towards the doorway. Finally, the different bits and pieces you'd seen during your adventure through the house came together into a single girl. Wait. We're going to change it to the comic book style dialogue boxes, because I think I'll see at least a little bit more of the image here. Her overalls and stripy sweater with the holes in it were gone. Even her messenger bag that was almost never out of reach was nowhere to be seen. They'd been replaced by a dainty dress, which must have been her special German clothes. And across her chest was a gold chain strap for a classy purse. Both elements of the outfit could be described as old-fashioned, though in very different ways. One could be a style from when Granny was younger, meaning forever ago, but the other was from so long in the past it could be in history books. Tamarack didn't have shoes to match either concept. She only had a pair of white socks on her feet. There were a few small holes in those. It seemed they were a third kind of oldness. It might have only been a few months, but for well-used socks, that was ancient. She showed herself off with a perfect princess twirl, arms stretched out at her sides. Tamarack wasn't usually the kind of kid who did proper poise. That was more of a Chiyu thing. But considering what the backdrop looked like, it only made sense. This was a princess's bedroom. And there was a big bow on the back of her dress. You saw it during her spin. Tamarack ended the little presentation of her tea party gown by showing you a huge smile. Ta-da! Oh, look at it's so cute. I wish there was a way to just take off the text bubbles completely, just so you can really see the full picture. But that's cute. Aww. I also like her little bag here. It's pretty. I like your dress. You look like a milkmaid. You're really pretty. I don't like it, you lied. It's pretty weird. Yeah, it's nice. Tamarack, you are so beautiful. That's perfect. You stuck up your nose, completely unimpressed. You grumbled, definitely not liking her dress. You hated it, actually. Yeah, that was it. You scratched your head, not getting the big deal. You applauded her. Amazing, wonderful. You gave her a thumbs up. Now that was a tea party outfit. She'll say Tamarack's beautiful. Yeah. Tamarack giggled, swishing the hem of her polka dot skirt. Oh, thanks, Kia. Then Tamarack popped the thought in your head with the clock. You dressed up too. Thank you. It wasn't just her words that expressed appreciation. The light in her eyes did too. Oh, and hey, you've got earrings on. That's amazing, Kia. You're stylish and so grown up. She did say to dress up, so it shouldn't have been that surprising. That's what you're supposed to do. Oh, right, the stuff you brought. Wait. Here's the stuff you wanted. I brought it. Thanks, Kia. Your grocery store supplies made the celebration of the century, at least to her. It hadn't made any difference that it was rice milk. That's really good. You have no idea. How are people supposed to drink tea without any honey or milk? Tamarack slipped behind you to slowly shut the door. Come on, bring it over this way. Then she took you by the elbow to lead you along with her, walking on air. Not having shoes on made her feet extra light. I can't believe you're here. She snuck the high-pitched words into your ear. It was at a low enough volume that your eardrums only tickled. For as long as you'd known her, which wasn't long, but long enough to realize this, most of what Tamarack said felt like it had to be an exclamation point at the end. But that hadn't been happening the whole conversation. She must have been scolded for yelling in the house already. Or maybe Tamarack decided shouting wasn't proper behavior for a tea party. That was probably it. She played by her own rules. Like how the floor of her room was covered in toys and had been haphazardly shoved only partially under the bed to clear space on the rug for a set of fine china. Fragile-looking plates and teacups were spread over the ground in a vague circular shape. In the center of that was a platter of snacks and a pale pink teapot with roses painted along the bottom part. The cap for the pot had an actual sculpted rose at the tippy top. I couldn't find a table, but this makes it look like a picnic, but inside. She plopped down in front of one of the place setters, pointing to where you could sit. You took your spot on the opposite side of the arrangement and added your things to hers. All right, my first best friend Golden Grove tea party starts now. In an instant, your view was blocked by an array of tea packets. Tamarack held the spread up to your face like a paper fan. You'd seen scenes in movies and TV shows where people bashfully hid behind decorative fans, but it was even sometimes over tea, but this wasn't that. You're the guest. You can pick what flavor you want first. This is what I've got. You narrowed your eyes at the spread, trying to figure out the types of teas among the layers of her fan. There were 4 options. Of course, Tamarack's bounty was far more than 4 individual packets, but a lot of them were the same type. Vanilla chamomile, pure peppermint, mixed berry, and cinnamon apple. It was nice of her to offer to let you pick first and give you so many options. That was just like her. You went for the chamomile. You'd have peppermint. Mixed berry was your choice. The cinnamon apple seemed right then. You weren't taking any. None of those were good. You would drink the water plain. You only wanted a cup of milk. But you didn't care. It could be anything. Truthfully, you didn't want tea, even if this was a tea party. I don't know all these flavors of tea. I've I've had chamomile, I think, but you know the other flavors sound like things I know of. But I think Kia is kind of a mixed berry person. I don't know. She feels like mixed berries, if that makes any sense. So she's gonna do the mixed berries, and we'll see what. I don't know. Maybe I'll try it someday. You slid the packet you wanted out from between Tamarack's short fingers. I was thinking about that one too. I will have it, and then we'll both be drinking the same thing. After dumping the unwanted tea into a heap, Tamarack tore open the mixed berry packet and placed it in the cup closest to you. Next, she recovered a black thermos that had been buried in the toys. It must have gotten swept aside in her rush to clean before you got there. This way, we don't have to go downstairs and heat it up in the microwave. I like doing it in the microwave because if you put the baggie in with the water, the tea gets done way faster. But putting the tea in water that's already hot is what people do at tea parties. Tamarack chatted while screwing off the top of the thermos. Rather than wait for her, you picked up your own cup and held it up. She poured the hot water from the thermos into the teapot, and then from the teapot into your raised cup. It would have taken less time to pour the water directly from the thermos, but using a teapot was also what people did at tea parties. You stared at the cup set at your feet. A deep purple color had already begun to seep into the clear water. Rising with the steam came the vibrant scents of berries. Tamarack cut through the gentle wisp with a spoon. It was for you. Guess what? I've got sugar packets, she announced with a grin on her face and music in her voice. You grasped the spoon in one hand, smiling at Tamarack's syrupy sweet song that, oh my gosh, I can read. Oh, my glasses need to be cleaned off. Hang on a second. I didn't realize it because I took them off for a second and I was like, yeah, that looks different. And I was putting them back on and I was like, oh, let me clean these off. Okay. I wonder if I chose a different tea, if Tamarack was still going to have mixed berry or not. That's what I wondered. Tamarack and Kia are actually kind of similar and it's really funny. You grasped the spoon in one hand, smiling at Tamarack's syrupy sweet song. If she kept that up, no one would need the actual sugar packets. Not really, though. Words couldn't sweeten tea. And she did stop, anyway. There it is, her dress. I was there for a second. You dumped in a packet of sugar. You squeezed the honey into your cup. You added milk to the drink. You left the tea just as tea. Oh, okay, so you can do... This is probably one of the multiple ones. Yeah. So add sugar. I don't know if there's a limit. Okay, add some milk. You can only add a little bit or else it would start to spill out. And she's gonna add some more sugar. I don't know how much sugar you put. Hey, that's as many as you can have. You gotta leave some for me. That was fine. 3 would be enough. And it would be rude to take everything for yourself. So, you kept squeezing until you felt there was just the right amount. I don't know if this is going to be any good, to be honest. That's how I have tea too. It's the best way. Well, it's Tamarack approved, so there we have it. It's Tamarack approved. Oh, and sorry, I can read. Oh, you can eat any of the finger food you want. Tamarack pointed at the center placed platter using the spoon. She decided to keep it as her own. There on a plate, laid out in a neat row, were 3 chocolate cream sandwich cookies. A matching trio of chocolate chip cookies went alongside those. And framing the top and bottom of the dual lines was a peanut butter cookie in the shape of an actual peanut. So the finger food was cookies, but it was a good amount for a party of 2. Enough for you and her to have one of each and a couple extras. Your hostess decided it was all right for her to tend to her own needs then. Tamarack's tea consisted of 2 packets of sugar, a glob of honey, and the rest of the cup space filled with milk. She stirred the slurry daintily with her own teaspoon, extra careful not to make a mess. It still spilled just a little. A few drops managed to sneak out. They crawled down the side of the pristine china teacup. Oblivious to the mistake, Tamarack took a nice big drink of her tea. She followed that with a dreamy sigh. This is the life, Kia. She was the head of a successful celebration, and you were the guest of honor there. It's kind of magical, what we're doing. We're the same as fairies at a feast. We're just like princesses. You're just like a princess, Tamarack, and that means I should be your knight. You're just like a princess, Tamarack. I could be your sorcerer. You know what this is like? Being rich. This must be how millionaires drink tea. This is so grown up. We're practically adults right now. Hey, Tamarack, have you heard she was the lead in the ballet recital? You know what I found out today? Sorry, one second. Let me take a drink of water. You know what I found out today? Baxter has a private tutor for his ballroom dancing lessons. You contentedly listened to Tamarack talk over tea. You tapped your finger impatiently as Tamarack blabbered on. You stuffed your face with cookies while Tamarack did the chatting. Okay, so I think Kia likes magic, so I think she's either going to be this is kind of magical, or like fairies, or I could be your sorcerer. Of course, part of me wants to lean towards the sorcerer because the joke towards the beginning when with the whole paper airplane thing, she was like a thief or sorcerer. But fairies. Okay, I flipped a coin. We're gonna go you're just like a princess. I could be your sorcerer. Because, yeah. Really? I am? You would be? Yeah. Tamarack straightened her back, flattered by the new perception of herself and her party. Then, keeping the princess concept in her tone, Tamarack told you a story from her past. She explained how the first time she saw this china set was when she was only visiting her grandparents as a little girl. They thought that was a meaningful enough occasion to use it. That had stood out in Tamarack's earliest memories. While smiling and speaking, Tamarack gently clasped both hands around her teacup. It was an unconscious gesture, but her eyebrows soon raised. She noticed the sticky trail of tea drying on the side of her cup. Tamarack couldn't let that stay. Right away, she used that silky scarf to try scrubbing off the spill from before. During that break in conversation, you fully took in the scene you'd found yourself in. You and Tamarack sat together around shredded packets of tea and sugar and an easily breakable tea set. alone in a closed room. It was strange when you really thought about it. This was the longest Tamarack had willingly chosen to sit still, as far as you'd seen. In school and at normal meals, she didn't have much choice, but when she did, Tamarack preferred to be on the move. And even more unexpected was that she'd do it here, in the house. Even if this was her own room, it'd make more sense for Tamarack to throw a tea party in the woods, or at least her backyard. There was a table with 2 chairs there. You'd seen it when you came in. Yeah, it had been raining before, but that stopped a while ago. She did have her special dress on and the good dishes. Why did you want to have the party here? Are you tired today? Hey, it stopped raining. We could have a tea party outside. Some places should be dry. You're not supposed to wear your dress outside, are you? Granny didn't let you take the teapot and things outside, huh? I never would have thought you'd have a tea party inside. You know, this party would be a lot better in the forest or even a backyard. You nudged your head towards the window, wondering about going outside. You considered it more, unsure of the real answer. You shrugged to yourself, not caring that much. You shook your head, certain it would be the dumbest reason. Okay. Let's see. What would Kia do in this situation? What would Kia do? Okay, I'll check the log real quick. Maybe she would ask you're not supposed to wear your dress outside, are you? Because I don't think she would just, suggest going outside. So she's either going to think about it more, I wonder. She might just ask, oh, you're not supposed to. There's a lot of assumptions in every question. Yep, Omi wouldn't want that. You thought so. Or so you thought. Her twinkling eyes pinched in, her mischievous smile pulled up. But I'm not allowed to go outside anyway. She looked ready to burst, like keeping her yelling inside was seriously going to kill her from it exploding at once. Tamarack still cheered with as much quiet joy as she could. I'm grounded. Huh? Omi told me I'm not allowed to go downstairs for the whole rest of the day, but I can leave my room if I'm walking around upstairs. That's so I can use the bathroom out there and stuff. But it's also how I made this party. I got everything from my room and their room and the upstairs hall. My Omi and Opa don't even know you're here. I wasn't expecting that. I wasn't expecting Tamarack to have, that does make sense. Everything was very, secret party. Wow. Tamarack concluded her revelation, all fluffed up and giggling, though still keeping her voice more hushed than normal. And finally, things clicked in your brain. Why the self-pronounced forest is better than everywhere else girl was holding her best event on the floor of her bedroom. Why the finger foods, tea packets, and sweetener were prepackaged stuff she could have scrounged out of her bag. The missing milk and honey, not a crumb coming from the kitchen. Why Tamarack hadn't shouted even one time. It all made sense. And that meant the odd sense of emptiness when you first got there was the right feeling. This is not a normal thing happening. You'd come into Mrs. and Mr. Bauman's house without permission, and it was to see their granddaughter, who was supposed to be in trouble and not having an actual party upstairs. Why are you grounded? I am a burglar. That's amazing. I'm a criminal now, you cried in distress. You're the funniest person I have ever met. You are crazy, you chuckled. You're a crazy person, you said, aghast. Tamarack, I'm gonna get in trouble for this. I'm gonna tell Granny. No more games. You've gotta come clean to your grandparents. Oh no, this is horrible. I'm going home. If you're grounded, you should act like it. This is serious, Tamarack. If we get caught, I'm blaming everything on you. That's unfair. Granny shouldn't force you to stay up here. What happened while you were away? You gaped in confusion. You were filled with annoyance on Tamarack's behalf. Grounding should be illegal. You gasped as one of your hands clapped against your mouth. You burst into laughter. It was too good. You came to grips with your new life of crime. You felt a cold sweat on the nape of your neck. This was bad. You gave her a parental look of disappointment. She should have behaved. This has gone on long enough. You got up to tell Granny. You pointed at the door, urging Tamarack to go talk to her grandparents about this. This was too much. You stood. You were going home. Yeah, I think we'll just ask why she's grounded. Yeah, we're gonna ask why she's grounded. I think that's what Kia would do. I don't think she's like, she'd either do that or like be like, I am a burglar. Yeah, I don't think she's that. I don't think the concern has hit her yet. Besides, like, oh, why is Tamarack grounded? She huffed. It was so... Oh, whoops, sorry. It was dumb, Kia. Omi wanted me to do something I didn't want to do, and I said, no way. Whatever that was supposed to mean, you never learned. Suddenly, rapid steps echoed in the hall outside the room. Tamarack cried out. It's Omi! She's fast! During the amusement, Tamarack had forgotten the only reason that Granny hadn't already caught her. She'd been quiet before, and that was not quiet. Tamarack hunched over, smacking her hands to her cheeks at the realization. She'd been her own undoing. The jig was up now. You laughed. You darted back and forth in a panic. You froze in place. What were you supposed to do? You shot a desperate look at the window. You could hide under the bed. You rushed to the closet. You threw your hands in the air, begging for mercy from the universe. You bit your nails, stomach rolling, mind racing. You felt tears spring up behind your eyes. You were going to get in so much trouble. You latched onto Tamarack in a fearful embrace. You were both dead. You took Tamarack's hand reassuringly. You wanted to see what would happen, like it was a new episode of a TV show. You simply stood there and blinked. I think Kia understands now that she's not supposed to be here. So I think she's either going to freeze or she might try to hide. But I don't know if she'd hide very well in this room. Kia, I guess she's 10. She's a rule follower, but I don't know. I think she's a friend follower more. Yeah, I think she's gonna try to hide under the bed. Yeah, I wasn't sure there's all those toys. Wait, no good. The opening was blocked by a layer of toys 2 feet thick. The sound was getting louder, closer. Okay. That didn't work, so she's gonna go to the closet. Tamarack was right on your heels, poised to help you take cover. You didn't look, but you could feel the whirl of her skirt behind you. Go, go, go! You yanked the door open and clambered, not walked, inside. There was not enough room on the ground to call what you did walking into that space. Your limbs awkwardly tangled around boxes and bags and other loose junk. An old hockey stick got wedged under your armpits, and you had a foot in what felt like a sack of packing peanuts. The place was worse than your house when you first moved in, and it didn't have the excuse of being abandoned for years. Tamarack attempted to shove the door shut. It butted against one of your knees. Nothing could be done. You couldn't get deeper in, no matter how small you made yourself, and Tamarack couldn't get any stronger. The entrance of your hiding place stayed open a crack. Tamarack's shadow disappeared from your narrow field of view. Your effort would be wasted if her grandma found her staring suspiciously at the closet. The rest would be up to her now. In that instant, Granny burst onto the scene, barreling inside like an out-of-control train. Her jewelry clattering was the sound of wheels clanking over rails. Young lady, what on earth is that ungodly racket? Her eyes were blown wide. That stretched out as far as top to bottom cabin windows. You could see right through them into a fiery coal furnace that powered this train. Granny was mad. Why is my best china thrown over the floor? Granny couldn't stop talking fast. Gears were still spinning in overdrive. I cannot believe what I'm seeing. You completely disregarded the rules of this household. If she couldn't believe that sight, you didn't want to know if she found out what or who was in the closet. I did not, Tamarack snapped, leaning into the oncoming crash fearlessly and puffing out her dress to seem bigger. You just said I couldn't go downstairs. I never did that one time. Let me start over. You just said I couldn't go downstairs. I never did that even one time. The mastermind went into a full monologue, explaining every detail of her secret plan. It was exactly as you realized. The tea stuff was in display. It was in the display cupboard in the hall, the upstairs hall, and the food and tea packets were in my bag. I have that here in my room. My special dress and your purse were in your big closet. Your room is up here, Omi. And this... Tamarack turned her back to the threat for only a second in order to scrounge up the last mystery of her scheme, the thermos. She held it high. Was from Opa. What? Opa? Yeah, when I came home, I called to him from the top of the stairs. I told him it was freezing and I needed hot drinks while I was trapped the whole night. He boiled the water in the kitchen, filled this up, and brought it right to my room. And that was the whole story, except, for the part where she had you sneak in the house and you were now in hiding, maybe for the rest of your life. Tamarack placed her hands on her hips, still gripping the thermos in one hand, and smugly swayed her skirt. Granny was left flabbergasted. See? You thought I wouldn't be able to have any fun being stuck upstairs, but you're wrong. That's not my fault. Tamarack is so funny. What was Granny gonna do with that? What could she do about that ironclad defense? It was simple. Shout for her husband. Ernest, get your backside over here. Am I being too loud? That was so funny. That was the thing with uncontrollable trains. They didn't care how tall you stood or how smart you thought you were. They kept charging straight ahead. A groaning echo came from outside. Someone had opened a door. Creaking footsteps followed. The three of you waited. Not that Granny knew it was the three of you. Tamarack did so proudly, with her chest out. You trying not to sneeze, and Granny indignantly. She tapped the pointed tip of her crystal buckle shoe. Invisible arms of pungent perfume came off Granny's impulses. They curled oppressively throughout Tamarack's crowded bedroom. It was as if her frustration was so great she could will it into existing as a force in the real world. You held your breath, trying not to crush anything you were leaning on or be crushed yourself by everything stacked above. Eventually, Mr. Bauman tiptoed on large, heavy feet into the room. If the worry lines on his face, which were different from his regular wrinkles, didn't show how unprepared he was for this, the fact that he was shoeless, coatless, and hatless did. Mr. Bauman never appeared that casual during the day, even in his own home. But it was an invitation he couldn't refuse. Tamarack's grandpa became the unexpected fourth attendee of the illegal tea party. Granny, much like Tamarack herself, cut straight to the important part. There wasn't even a hello. Were you aware that your granddaughter was throwing a veritable ball with one of my nicest tea sets while she was supposed to be grounded? From Tamarack's own mouth, I heard that it was you who provided the hot water that allowed this entire circus to happen. Mr. Bauman didn't meet the suspicious stare being leveled at him. He scratched at his stubble with 2 fingers, speaking in a slow, measured pace. I don't know about all that. Was he that nervous because he got in trouble for making a mistake, or because he'd been caught as an accomplice? You weren't sure. Neither was Granny. She didn't ease up on the glare. But Mr. Bauman mumbled on. The weight of his wife's stink eye sat perfectly well on his shoulders once he'd had a chance to get used to it. He was as strong as stone. Whatever is going on in here, I'm not understanding the problem. I kept an ear open, never caught her sneaking down. Wasn't that what we heard from you? That closed the case and sealed his fate. It no longer mattered to what degree Mr. Bauman had looked the other way. The side he was on was made clear. He was an ally. Oh, you old traitor. Now, normally, that would be the part where Granny would sigh deeply and pretend how unfair everyone was to her. This wasn't a normal disagreement. Granny wasn't being dramatic. She was serious, and she set her sights on her granddaughter once more. You were supposed to be reflecting on what you said and what I had said. Playing around, having fun, is already being bad. But that is the tip of the iceberg, let me tell you. Each of Tamarack's defenses were knocked down one by one. You're not allowed to use my good dishes whenever you fancy or however you please. You shouldn't have touched them. Nor do you have permission to take my purse without asking. And that beautiful, irreplaceable dress is only for holidays or otherwise special occasions. Being grounded is not a special occasion. That's plenty of rule breaking all on its own. Doing it when you were already in a load of trouble makes it inexcusable. Yet here you are, making excuses. You're not as clever as you think. This party is over, young lady. Randy ended her rant with a huff. You'd never seen her like that. And you'd never seen Tamarack like that. She clung tightly to the skirt of her dress. Tears grew in big bubbles at the corner of her eyes. I didn't mean to. Mr. Bauman's storm cloud gray looking eyes focused directly on his wife for the first time. No hints of blue sky could be seen in his irises. Oh dear. Granny really had become a train. Mrs. Bauman couldn't even stop herself before she hurt someone. You couldn't sit there doing nothing. You burst out of the closet. You couldn't let Tamarack go through that alone. You carefully climbed out of the closet. It was just too unfair. You couldn't hide like a coward. This wasn't a joke. You couldn't hide forever and didn't want to get in more trouble. You came out. You stayed as quiet as possible. You didn't want Tamarack to be in even more trouble. You were frozen, afraid that any wrong move would get you yelled at too. That was the worst. You weren't getting mixed up in that. This is a hard one, because I feel like, well, okay, I think Kia's kind of very reactionary, so she's probably she's probably gonna want to go try to help Tamarack, because like on one hand it's like, oh, she doesn't want Tamarack to get in more trouble, but also her best friend is crying over there. I don't know if she would think about it. And that's the thing. We'll save over here. my coin thinks, wait, let me ask my coin properly. I just kind of flipped it. I didn't actually have a thought in mind. Okay. The coin thinks that she should stay in the closet. But I don't know, is that right? She doesn't want Tamarack to be in even more trouble. Here, wait, let me ask a different question. I know, I'm uncertain because I'm hesitant. Okay. I think, I don't know, Kia's so reactionary. I think I'm gonna have to. I think she's gonna have to barge out. See, I think what's happening is it's my logic versus Kia's logic, because in my brain I'm like, that's a bad idea, stay in the closet. But also, this is such a cute outfit. I would like that she dressed up. This is really cute. Okay, wait, let me just read the, sometimes when it comes like this, I'm like, should I read the first line of each option and see which one? Okay, listen. Found in grandparents' gap at your entrance. You need an even stronger, more old person fitting word than flabbergasted. That simply wasn't enough to describe this, but you couldn't come up with anything else. Kia, what are you doing here? Tamarack whispered a barely audible explanation. Your phone was charging in your room when I called Kia and she came over. I didn't say I was in trouble. Granny tossed her hands up in exasperation. Do you have the Pope under your bed too? No, there's only toys. You didn't come out so Granny could think about the Pope or whoever or keep scolding Tamarack. The focus was supposed to stay on you. Granny, that's not right. You shouldn't talk to Tamarack that way. Tamarack was just trying to have a nice day and you're ruining it. Take it back. Tamarack is clever. You're the dumb one. Please forgive us, you begged. If you're so smart, why didn't you come up with a better way to ground someone? You burst into tears yourself. You glared at Granny with gritted teeth. You faced Granny fiercely with tears in your eyes. Please don't shout anymore. Why are you fighting? Families should be nice to each other. If you're mad at Tamarack, you should be mad at me too. You're so mean. You stuck your tongue out at Granny as hard as you could. You embraced Tamarack protectively. Okay. Yeah, so why are you fighting? Families should be nice to each other. I'm leaning towards that one. If you're mad at Tamarack, you should be mad at me too. Or embracing Tamarack protectively. That's 3 options. That's 3 things. Because I think with Kia, you know, her goal right now is to help Tamarack. But, because Tamarack is crying, she can't just sit there. We save when we hesitate on an option, so that if necessary, we can go back. Hmm. Um. Yeah, okay, I think I'll go with that one. Wait. Wait. I know. Deciding. I'm deciding. Oh, wait, let me change the number on here. Yeah, okay. She's gonna go hug Tamarack. Tamarack sniffled into your shoulder. How could a grandma do this to her granddaughter? Unluckily, you and Tamarack still had that other ally in this fight too. Dorothea. Mr. Bauman, one thing that remained usual about this crazy situation was how absolutely opposite he was from his passionate partner. The more worked up Mrs. Bauman got, the more didn't do that. He hardened. Those kind of words aren't necessary. Well, isn't this a fine turn of events? I only wanted to apply a hint of discipline for the first time, and now I'm the Wicked Witch of the West. Thankfully, this time around, Granny did react in the regular way. And by that, you meant she woefully declared how no one was on her side, and even her husband had to undermine her, and so on. She pressed a wary hand to her forehead through it. Her mindset was already beginning to change, even if she was too stubborn to admit it directly. Mr. Bauman continued, once again, digging a couple fingers into his chin. We both know Tamarack isn't doing what she needs to do, but that doesn't mean you should start doing things you shouldn't be either. There's not as much of a rush as you feel there is. Don't force a spoonful of medicine down someone's throat. Tamarack will come around. And remember that no matter how you're acting, the truth is you're more worried than you are mad. This was the most you'd heard Tamarack's grandpa talk in a single go. You could finally grasp at least a little of what his way of speaking even was. For a man that elderly, Mr. Bauman's voice sounded like it was something even older than that. Like maybe it was 200 years old instead of 100 or so. Too bad what he was saying made sense to everyone in the room except you. What happened between them? And why? Granny's shoulders stooped. Who was the grounded Bauman girl here again? Her crescent-shaped eyes slowly turned to rest on her little granddaughter. Trails of tears still marked Tamarack's puffy cheeks, but new drops had developed since her grandpa began talking. I hear you. I know when I'm outnumbered. We can leave things here for now. It'll get sorted later. She stood tall once more. Her heavy-looking necklace and the weight of the heavy atmosphere couldn't keep her down for long. Young lady, you are no longer grounded. Tamarack tapped her tiny fists together. She was hopeful, but didn't quite know what this would mean. Mr. Bauman must have understood better. He grinned at his wife. Someone like Granny could never be hard for real. She could only pretend it for a little while. Well, what are you waiting for? What are you waiting around for? Go on. Huh? Me? You tapped a finger to your chest. No, not you. Goodness. I'm saying we better move this tea party into the drawing room. It would be far more appropriate there. Besides, were you expecting Opa and my dusty bones to sit on the floor? Tamarack popped with a loud squeal, all smiles and forgiveness. It looked like both of them were back to normal. Thank you, Omi! Tamarack shifted her hold on Granny to take her hand. The two left together, with Tamarack leading the way and Mrs. Bauman telling her granddaughter to be careful with such fragile cargo. Both of them were laughing. For a minute, it was just you and Mr. Bauman. Those ladies love each other. I hope you understand. What happened wasn't as serious as it might have looked into your eyes. The real problem is something else entirely. But it's the shadow of those bigger problems that make it hard to find a way out of even the smaller ones. He closed his eyes, considering important matters in a wise and sagely manner that only a person with wrinkles and silver hair could manage. Thanks for being nice to Tamarack. Well, I don't know what you're talking about. Things are gonna be okay, right? What other problems are there? So are you gonna tell me why Tamarack was grounded? You're talking in riddles. What does that mean, old man? You tilted your head at him, confused. You scrunched your face. What was that supposed to mean? You stared at the ground, incredibly awkward being alone with Tamarack's grandpa. You looked up at him in awe. He probably knew the mysteries of the whole universe. You silently stared after Tamarack and Granny. You puffed some air. Who cared? Their problems weren't your problems. She's gonna ask what other problems are there. I can't tell you. It was a promise. But I imagine you'll understand one day, when you're just a bit older. A small smile managed to make it onto his face, lines forming around it like cracks on a stone. For someone as rough around the edges as Mr. Bauman, he could still be gentle. Though what you found most surprising was that once he got going, Mr. Bauman was a little more like Mrs. Bauman than you'd ever thought. They were definitely a pair in their grandparenty ways. The unexpected moment when Mr. Bauman came to a swift and sudden end. Oh, get the tea set, would you? My hands are full here. Mr. Bauman unconsciously moved to lift his hat, only to find it wasn't there. He wiped his forehead instead. I'll get the tea set. And he did. But it took more than that to fully set up the tea party in its new venue. Oh, that's a cute tea set. Fresh water was boiled in the kitchen in place of the pre-packaged cookies from Tamarack's bag. In place of the pre-packaged cookies from Tamarack's bag, the plate was covered with sugar-coated shortbread. The fresh-baked cookies were glued together into sandwiches using jam and shaped like hearts and flowers. Mr. and Mrs. Bauman had their own milk to use, but it wasn't the same as yours, so your rice milk remained the option for this party. They had their own type of honey too, but yours worked just as good. All of it came together in the drawing room where Mrs. Bauman got to sit on her throne and entertain her family and one guest of honor. Mr. Bauman kept his tea plain and dipped cookies in it. Mrs. Bauman liked a dash of honey with hers, and of course, Tamarack needed some of everything, exactly like you. She giggled about how they were having a tea party around the coffee table. That got a big cackle from Granny. Haha, tea party at a coffee table. Then Tamarack mentioned a familiar point. Doesn't this feel like we're royalty? You had shared your imagination with her, and now Tamarack wanted to share it with others. Of course, she mentioned where she gotten the idea from. You took a nice long drink. The tea, sweet and smooth, went down your throat to warm you up from the inside out. And so did the company. Problems were still somewhere out in the world. You knew it for certain. But for this evening, they weren't invited to the party. Boop. Oh, that was a nice ending. I wonder if it has something to do with Tamarack's parents, because they're like away. You know, Tamrak lives with her Omi and Opa. Just it's supposed to just be while her while her parents are finishing college. So I wonder if that has anything to do with it or not. I don't know. Oh wait, no, tea party. We had a tea party. All right. Well. I want to start the step 2 preview. I have a little less than an hour though, so okay, we'll just get it started. We'll start it. Are you sure? This demo includes a preview for step 2. Saves made during step 2 will not be loadable in the final version of the game. Do you want to continue? Did I save? I did save. Yeah, okay. Step 2 preview. Yes. Let's start. I'm just gonna start it for a little bit. Just for a little bit. In between. Step transitions. At the start of a new step, you can change the appearance and identity of your character. New appearance options will be unlocked in each step as well. Anything you change here will be assumed to be a part of normal life by the start of a new step, so you won't get comments about changes like recently dyeing your hair or getting glasses. If you choose to update your first name, gender, or pronouns, however, you will have the option to come out during the step prologue. You can also choose to have it be something that happened off screen. Shape the story however you like. Okay, so leave all that. The thing about Kia is that, so the step 2 is them going into high school, and the thing about Kia is that at this point in her life, she got very quiet and very hidey type person. Oops, wrong button. Pressed the wrong button. I pressed the wrong button. Okay. No. Under layers. I'm gonna put her overalls back on. Though she'll probably have a hoodie on over it because that's kind of how she dressed in high school. She likes wearing really nice, cute clothes, but she's also like let's not do that hoodie because that's the hoodie that Miles wears. We'll do this one. Yeah, I kind of think this might have been how I dressed her last time anyway. That's funny because I'm not looking at the reference. I'm just like, what would Kia wear at this point? Let's change her earrings. I'd like, yeah, we'll do this one. And there. Other earrings, like you can have it more earrings if you wanted to. Not yet for little Kia. Not yet. I think that's everything. Yeah. Alright. Yeah. Kia hides. Kia's more shy at this point in her life. Oop. Okay. Yeah, I think she's short. I'm really bad at heights of my characters. And I know that technically people say short and like heights technically are different depending on like, I don't know. I'll just leave her short. That's the long and the short of it. Leave all this. We'll leave this too. She'll still, and gonna keep the heart. Alright. Winter was a world of its own. The place you'd known had gone to sleep. Mama wished more than once that people could hibernate until spring the way bears did. Snow up on a mountain was worse than anywhere else in the state. It took hold of you whenever you went outside, trying to tug your shoes straight off your feet. That season, the cul-de-sac kids got rides to and from school. Chiu's mom and Granny took turns. They would take you in the morning and get you again in the afternoon. On lucky days, Mr. Lin would be the one who came at the end of the day, and sometimes your own mama could do it. There was one time there'd been a huge misunderstanding, and the person who pulled up in front of your school was Mr. Bauman. It was a nightmare. That Nutcracker ballet recital happened. Chiu stole a show. Really, it was hard for anyone else to follow along with a kid who made moves up as it went along. The teacher had said not to stop no matter what. That's what she got. You know, as they say, the show must go on. The other Mr. and Mrs. Bauman came to visit for the first time for their daughter's favorite holiday, Christmas. Her parents showed up in Golden Grove with bags over their shoulders and glasses on their faces. Tamarack looked just like them, and she looked miserable. They left after New Year's. Only those two. Tamarack didn't go with her mom and dad. She stayed with her Omi and Opa. When that year wasn't so new anymore, you graduated elementary school. Mama brought you to the diner table to celebrate after your first day of middle school. She always did. The two of you eventually reached regular status at that establishment. It helped that Yusuf, the friendly manager, became the new owner when the original one retired. He recognized you and Mama from the beginning. Yusuf had been earnest when he'd said everybody in town were basically neighbors. He might not have been next door, but you couldn't help getting to know him, as much as you could know an adult anyway. Days, weeks, months, and the time took a rest on your shoulders, and they kept coming. A couple more years, and you weren't even a kid anymore. You emerged from a pile of torn off calendar pages as a teenager. Oh, the hall's been updated. There's like, they got pictures on the walls and this little, what do you call that? What do you call the table in the hallway? Is it an end table? It's not an end table. What do you call the hallway table? What do you call the hallway table? Hallway table name. Console table? Oh. At least according to cherish.com. I didn't know that. I've never heard that. It's called a console table. They have a little console table in the hall now. Add one extra year, and you graduated again. At 14 years old, you were about to begin high school. So you're basically grown up. You could do whatever you wanted. Rules didn't matter anymore. You wouldn't let anyone tell you what to do again. You'd have to be on your best behavior, though you always were. Messing around would not be worth the amount of trouble you'd get in now. Following rules was always smartest. I feel like I guess she's probably, you'd be on your best behavior. I don't think she does anything out there, but she's also easily swayed at this point of her life. So it's she follows the rules, but if she's with a group of people who aren't following the rules, she's going to not follow the rules because she's trying to fit in. That's the kind of person she is at this point in her life. Yeah. Yeah. Life might have changed rapidly for you, but it seems like once you hit certain points of being old, stuff stayed consistent much longer. Mama and Mr. Lin had the same jobs. Mrs. Bauman kept on being retired. Mr. Bauman continued to pretend he was retired while working on the side. But that wasn't the only way to go. Mrs. Lin had new opportunities ahead. While her only child prepared for ninth grade, she was getting ready to rejoin the workforce. You met brand new people as you got older, and you were granted more freedoms. Serenity and Bianca? Is it Bianca? It's probably Bianca because it looks like Bianca, but it has the letter V at the beginning, so it's probably Bianca. Okay. And other schoolmates. Tamarack's social circle expanded too. You could fill several novels with memories of a little girl in her neighborhood on her own, with you, with Chiu, or both of you. And she was still around, but Tamarack had a lot more to consider these days than if she should be in the backyard or the forest clearing. There were also people you didn't meet. The infamous boys' clubs disbanded a long time ago. Chiu Lin, Rin Murray, Baxter Ward, and you. Rin went by Rin only, and had for a year. Calling him by his full name was strange. Not even Rin's parents did that. The relationship between Chiu and Rin was a knotted thread of history. Sometimes it tensed, sometimes it slacked, but it had yet to snap. It was different when it came to Baxter. Their shared friendship with him ended, officially. He dyed his hair gray. He dyed his dark gray hair to pure black and stopped coming around after a while. The age gap between him and the rest of you was a chasm that couldn't be crossed anymore. Chiu didn't remember the last time Baxter had been on Acorn Road. But you wouldn't forget. It was heartbreaking. You'd loved being in the boys' club. You'd outgrown it personally. It'd be silly to call hanging out with people a club meeting. Oh well, it was gonna happen sooner or later. You were glad you didn't have to act like the boss of friendship anymore. Rest in peace, boys' club. I think he is sad about it. She's like, no, the boys' club. I think this is, yeah. After the group disbanded, when Chiu no longer led a club that was named after them being a boy, Chiu began to realize something. They weren't a boy. Chiu wasn't sure how they identified, but they could say definitely that it wasn't that. For now, all people needed to know was not to call them by anything gendered. The news spread through the entire town ahead of school coming into session. Summer vacation didn't last forever. Days of sunshine. I like that transition. The way like you could just see the light go out, so it went from like evening to nighttime in the background. That was cool. Days of sunshine grew short and cold. Gray clouds gathered on the horizon. Oh, and the sun came up. Okay. And then fall settled over Golden Grove once again. The storybook-esque depiction of autumn went to the very root of the forest and the heart of the town as the whole land glistened in its namesake color. It'd been nearly 4 years to the day since you'd moved there, into the tan house with the white picket fence at the center of the cul-de-sac. The trees grew in taller and thicker. Mama got a chair for the porch, and the mailbox had to be replaced after an incident. But other than that, not much had changed with the outside of your home. One might have said the building was worse for wear after nearly 1,500 extra days of weathering the elements. But for how old it already was when you got there, that was nothing. Nothing for a house pushing 40 anyway. 4 years of your life was closing in on a third of your existence. And that first third you could scarcely remember, since you were a baby and then a toddler for most of it. So it worked out that nearly half of the memories you'd made and kept were from right here, in this house, in this neighborhood, in this town. You lived in this one place longer than anywhere. It was simply normal, nothing more, nothing less, and you absolutely loved it. It was H on Earth. Circumstances had officially reached mundane status, but there were worse things. You were safe there, content, life was good. And you couldn't wait to get out. Gosh darn it. I'm sorry. It was awesome. There was nothing you were more grateful for than that. Things were honestly miserable. It could still never compare to where you lived before. That was your real home. You could tolerate it, you guess. It wasn't horrible, but a part of you still longed for the old home you'd lost. Everything was so boring. You still weren't quite sure what to make of the place. I think Kia loves it here. I don't know. I think she's shown to really enjoy this little town. She likes the forest. She likes the town's place. She likes her house. So she likes the people. I think she's happy here. This was the perfect area to be in. No complaints, no changes needed. Golden Grove just needed to keep doing what it was doing, and life would be swell. You'd realized it even at 10 years old. That feeling had settled over you like a comfy blanket since the first fall. This place was home. You'd been down each path and road, seen every bush and tree, entered all the publicly accessible buildings hundreds of times. There was something indescribably precious about that. It couldn't be replicated. Though that didn't mean the world was static. There were shifts that rippled out and impacted your experience, but each one felt natural. The transition of seasons brought about an entirely different atmosphere. There were sights and sounds and feelings that could only happen during a few months before they were gone for a year. Other familiarities were lost to time for good, never to come back, but instead for their absence to eventually become old in their own right. You knew that acorns were beginning to fall along with the leaves, and that Bob's barber shop on Main Street closed 8 months ago, and that every day there was a new rumor on what was going to replace it. Nothing concrete had been announced yet, but any day now for sure. Mrs. Bauman was stubbornly convinced it'd be a restaurant, an Italian restaurant. The town needed one of those, she would insist. Yeah, that was less about what she thought would actually happen and more what she wished would come to be. Circumstances were never as perfectly straightforward as stuff that was the same and things that were different, or what you could be certain of and what you were believing in. You could have a piece of your world that had been ever present, something that hadn't gone away for a moment, yet right before your eyes it could stop being what you'd originally known. The example that came to your mind, that you'd been imagining from the beginning, was your left and right next door neighbors. Both Chiu and Tamarack were the same people you'd seen basically every day for 4 years. No single one of those days did you decide they weren't Tamarack or Chiyu anymore. Of course, they always were literally who they were. But after everything they'd learned and seen, and from the basic concept of getting older, the two were pulled into certain directions. Little by little, it couldn't be caught looking back a week or a month. Still, if you pause to remember them from your first meetings and compare that to who you'd expect to encounter that day, you could see it clearly, starkly. They had changed. First, the companion of your youth. I don't know if MX is mix. I don't know how to read it. I'm sorry. Qiulin. They didn't introduce themselves like that to people anymore. Whether a person could spell their name or not wasn't their problem. If someone didn't know that, then they didn't know Chiyu, and why should they care what a stranger believed about them? The only part of themselves they made sure to spell out were their pronouns, they, them. Chiyu was born and raised in Golden Grove, a local through and through, and not merely any kid in town. They were the one to take center stage, the one to reach out. Chiyu made themselves ever present in the minds and hearts of the community. Each person Chiyu had to cross paths with would have thoughts about who they were based on the gender that had been assigned to them at birth. If they wanted to be free of that misconception, Chiyu had no choice other than to keep explaining, again and again, person to person. They hated it. Going around introducing themselves in a way so people who wouldn't immediately get it could still put things together was cute and everything when they were in elementary school. As a 9th grader, it was embarrassing. A lot of what Chiyu believed in as a kid seemed to be just that now, kid stuff. And at the tippy top of their list of childish ideals was the very concept of trying. Chiyu stopped putting in effort with their classes. They started skipping ballet lessons, and they did not go out of their way to make others feel welcome. No, they rebuffed nearly anyone who wished for time in their presence. If Chiyu didn't already like someone, 0 opportunities would be given for that opinion to change. Despite going from the most approachable face in town to completely unavailable, Chiyu remained exceedingly popular in school. The chill that overtook their demeanor only made them cooler, apparently. It was already... Yeah, okay. Yeah, okay, we'll leave it. Yep. I added the choker because it feels right, but I'll leave the hair. I don't know. Jealousy and best friends. Okay, I'm going to read this. I feel like I have to finish off Tamarack. I gotta get off soon. So I'm gonna set up the new step relationships, and then that's probably where I'll end. Yeah. Okay, jealousy and best friends. Starting from step 2, a new option is available. Jealousy. You and the leads will begin as not jealous towards each other by default, but you can choose to be envious of or jealous of a lead if you're friends or crushes. If you're neighbors, jealous alterations will only occur in-game if you become friends or crushes mid-step. You can also set your relationship to best friends here. You can only be best friends with one lead per step, but it can be platonic or while crushing. Being best friends doesn't stop you being friends or crushes with the other lead. Okay. So here's at the point where deferring, because I'll go back over what these things are. So deferring, teamworking, contesting, that's the first meter there. So deferring is you are a follower or prefer to go with the flow. Teamworking, you're a collaborator or compromiser. Contesting, you prefer to be a leader or decision maker. So yeah, at this point in Kia's life, true to my story, she is deferring for sure. She's a follower. She's meter 2 is praising, unassuming, teasing. Praising, you go out of your way to casually or potentially flirtatiously compliment the other person. Unassuming, you generally keep your thoughts on others to yourself. Teasing, you like to make jokes or give the other person a hard time. This one's a little harder. She's either still praising or she might be unassuming now. She might be unassuming. Yeah. Meter 3, admiring, accepting, doting. Admiring, you see the other person is more incredible than most. You tend to see the other person on the same level as yourself. That's accepting. I didn't read accepting, my bad. Doting, you like to take care of or look out for the other person. And then the new meter of envious of, not jealous, jealous over. No, only applies if you are not neighbors. Envious of, you're envious of the life, appearance, abilities, relationships, etc. of the other person. Not jealous, you're not envious of or jealous over the other person. Jealous over, you feel discomfort if you or the other person likes someone else more or isn't spending as much time with you. And that's the thing. So I think I keep their things the same. So they're gonna be the same either way because it's about Kia as a person overall. She's a deferring, unassuming person who's probably like looks up to anyone who'll give her the time of day, low key. I know, but that's just how she is at this point. I know that in the game, in the final version, Liesel also will shift as you interact with people, like between steps. It'll like transition. I think, and I could change them. I'm gonna leave them. I'm just gonna leave them as they are. But yeah, so there's that. I'm curious about how that'll work out later. So yeah, that's everything here. But so what? If you didn't want to go above and beyond to be friends with everyone in the world, that didn't make them a bad person. Of course, the shift in their attitude hadn't changed how you felt. You and Chiyu had been close since you were 10. You still were. Chiyu had been there for you from the start and never stopped, even when it didn't come as easily for them anymore. You'd done the same in return. Chiyu knew that they could rely on you. The small circle of Chiyu's fond familiarity, I could read, encompassed you completely. Chiyu was happy to drape himself over you completely. There was no reason to stay at a distance. It wasn't unusual for you and Chiyu being close. You'd poke and nudge each other and all that. Chiyu didn't reach out to touch you. You didn't want them to. It was only different when things got difficult. Over the years, you made it clear that you didn't want to be randomly touched. You never did. Kia is a touchy-feely person. So, yeah, Kia's a touchy-feely person. That's basically like that one, right? The option to mark your how touch adverse you are with your friends. That's cool that's available as an option. And there's one per person too. So like the one for Chiyu was there, and the next after Tamarack section will be one for her too. Now second, the childhood best friend, Miss Tamarack Bauman. She had become a young lady. Her reckless romps through the woods shifted into quiet nature walks. The neat clothes she carefully selected weren't suited for that kind of exploring anyway. And she was not okay with them getting full of holes like she was as a kid. She approached most things in life with great delicacy, like she was living in a world of glass, or less whimsically, as if she was always walking on eggshells. Tamarack joined the music program during middle school and had played the cello ever since, a feat that required plenty of patience and a ton of sitting around. But all those new opinions priorities and decisions didn't speak to any level of decisiveness on her part. It wasn't just the loss of pure wild abandon only someone too young to know better could have. Tamarack didn't have a shred of the certainty she used to. Some days, in some ways, she could come across more like her almost 70-year-old grandparents than a girl not even a quarter their age. Then other moments, she'd lean into typical teenage priorities more than anyone else in her class, and neither seemed to make her particularly confident. What bits and pieces were truly Tamarack? Maybe all of them, maybe none. She hadn't managed to convince most people that there was a clear picture they could accept and understand as her. Probably because she didn't understand herself either, or she couldn't bring herself to commit to what she did know. So 4 years on, and she'd yet to blend into the harmony of this close-knit community. If Tamarack was in a room, odds were good she'd be the least acquainted person there. Wherever she went, Miss Bauman carried herself with the presence of a visitor, never a regular. Okay, I'll leave it. I'll leave the hair as the one that was already selected. This means they got opposite hair lengths. Yeah, we'll do the headband. Yep, and we're gonna stay the besties. Tamarack is the best friend. Sorry. Oh, that's what I forgot to do. I gave Kia braces last time. I forgot that was an option. Oh well. I might do that on the free time and then like put it in next time she'll just have braces. But there were some truths that no one doubted. She could count on you, and you could do the same with her. You didn't care what the town thought. Tamarack was the greatest friend you had in your entire life. She wasn't some nobody. She was the little girl who threw a paper airplane at you the first time she ever caught sight of you. Tamarack and you went through being newcomers side by side. No matter how much time passed, no matter how much of the two of you grew up, the promise you made to always be friends would not be broken. Together, you'd truly make it through whatever future unknowns you might face. You and Tamarack hugged and held hands. You were okay being close in whatever way. It was totally normal for you to bump each other and lean on one another. You and Tamarack didn't have a touchy-feely kind of relationship, not unless stuff was serious. You weren't comfortable being touched out of nowhere. Tamarack understood that. As I said, Kia is a very touchy-feely person. Okay, so here's where the step 2 would start, and we're gonna save that there. And that is where I will wrap for today. And I'll try to come back for this game on Monday. Tomorrow, if I stream, I'll probably be playing Potion Craft and just talking and stuff. But we will see. And then if I play on Friday, it's usually demos. I mean, this is a demo, but this is a special demo. So yeah, that was that. I'm enjoying the new stuff so far. Some of the step 2 preview in the actual prologue will be more different. There was not a lot of differences in the prologue part, but I realized that maybe I should have stopped before that, so that in the future the video will just end at that one, and then you could just continue on when there's more of the game. Anyways, I'm rambling now. That was that. Yeah, so I'll play some more of this next week, and oops. There we go. Yeah, so thanks for stopping by. I enjoy this game a lot, and there's a lot of choices that could be made in this game, and I'm excited for when the actual game comes out, which will be sometime next year. But till then, I will be enjoying this demo to the full ability that I can. So yeah, I might be back tomorrow. We'll see. Bye.